Uh, right. So how is the week been for everyone? Ben, how's your short-term rentals coming through? I think you should explain a little bit about that.
Um, it's been a little rough right now. Everything has been like smashed into my face at the same time. So we got the winter, we got everything going on around me right now. So I'm like, oh man. So I just need to, because I already have people in an apartment downstairs, and there's always something happening with the rental. Now the door I gotta fix. Uh, like always something. Hello, my kids. So, but the short-term rental thing is a course that I'm taking.
Uh,
Yeah.
Hi. Say hello to the world.
Okay. Kan jag få smaka? La det vara det för det. Yeah. The short-term rental thing is a course that I'm taking with the Cashflow Diary group. Jay Massey is the one who created it, and so I joined in August. So there's a monthly fee for that, and so far I've been doing the courses and talking to my coach almost weekly, and so yeah, I'm just doing what they tell me to do basically, and so we can get things going. But it's been a little slow right now because, like I said, it's like I kind of hit a wall right now, and I need motivation because the winter is not motivating at all. So I'm trying to kind of pinch myself here and get things going. So yeah, that's where I'm at basically.
So what is short-term rental? How does it work?
So the way short-term rentals work is
That's all right. I
I
don't worry about that.
I was able to log into the game already.
Oh, all right. That's great. That's great. I think Ben is having a hard word with his kids. No. Don't do that. It's fine. It's fine.
whoa,
We're not
okay,
we're not a
I got
corporate
water
world, we're not a
water
corporate
everywhere.
people. It's okay. We can afford to have a few kids now.
Okay, so what happens with the short-term rentals is that as soon as you get your first short-term rental, you you basically operate it in the beginning by yourself, and as soon as you get more rentals, you start having a group that helps you. So you have to find people that work for you eventually, like cleaners, people who fix the house, and you get a manager who manages the houses and stuff on the rentals.
Right.
So the bigger group you have, the faster things get going. So it's always slow in the beginning, as they say, and yeah. So what I have to do is do my sales job and call as many rental property owners as possible,
Uh-huh. Okay.
and as soon as I get one, then I have to basically find the money, because they don't tell us to find the money first. The money comes after you find the rentals, because nobody will see. They need like a proof of concept basically before anybody will invest in you. So it's a better way to get investors when you've got the rentals. So I'm searching at the internet, looking for people who have more units in one particular location.
Right.
Or I can look at small apartments in the same area if there's a possibility for that. So
all right.
yeah, so I still have a lot to learn. I'm like a baby right now in the stage. So yeah, but it's really fun to see how much work it is and how many Lego bricks you have to put together to get things going.
All right. But Ben, question. You are leasing property from property owners who are willing to offer it for rental.
Yeah. If they're willing.
If they're willing, of course. And you are also going to find the people who are going to lease it from you or rent it from you in the short term.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to work on both sides.
Yeah, and you'll be using platforms like, for example, Airbnb. That's one of the platforms.
All right.
And you start with one platform, and after you get things going, then you go to the next one.
So the units that you rent to your tenants, they don't have to be your units.
No, they don't have to be mine.
Okay, so you don't have to invest in the property itself. You don't have to own the property to be able to.
I don't have to own it at all. So basically using other people's money in that sense.
Right. So other people's investment.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. And so where do you need to, why do you need money then? Why do you need to find capital?
To find capital is because I don't have anything going for myself right now. So the best thing is to accumulate capital from as many places as possible, like friends, family, and eventually people you meet if you're like
investors,
good at talking.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But why do you need that money? Because you are not building property, you are not owning property. So why do you need the money?
Well, you need the money to get things going. Like you need to buy a lot of things for the units. The best thing is to have the units free of anything inside, because then you have a chance to create the unit in your own style. And the style you choose for the units, you need first to know who you serve, basically. So if you know who to serve, for example, I'm looking to serve people who work in the hospital, for example.
Right.
Because right now it's really bad with the COVID, and
right.
And if I try to serve people who work in the hospitals, then I need to know exactly what they need, basically.
Right.
That's one of the people I serve, and or I'm going to serve, and the other one is basically business people and small families.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm looking, for example, at apartments close to the hospital. If it's not close to the hospital, then it will be for little families and business people. So I need to kind of know exactly what they need. Like a business person needs at least a small place to work, an office, a good and really good fast internet, for example, and a kitchen, for example. Those things are really important, and that's That's why I need the money.
Got it. Okay, so let me quickly summarize what you've just said. You work on two areas. One is to find the property, and the other is to find the tenant.
Yeah.
You need to find the a property which is more or less a structure only, so you can furnish it, you can set it up according to the way your audience, which is your tenant, your target audience, your tenants would expect it to be.
Correct.
And then you also need to know who your audience are, and you have targeted people who are working in hospitals, so you are looking for units close to hospitals. And you have also targeted small business people and small families.
Yeah.
But the primary focus would be, your primary audience would be people who are working with the hospital.
Yeah.
And to set up,
especially in these times.
Right. And to set up these units, you need to invest into the interior setup. What goes inside the apartment, and that is where you need your money.
Yeah,
and that
correct.
money can come from you, or it could come from anyone who is willing to lend you money.
Yeah.
All right. So
that pretty much sums it up.
Yes, and you will also to find customers, you will be using platforms like Airbnb, or some of those similar kind of platforms to find your customers for you.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's a great insight into one of the most popular business streams of
it's one of the cash flow streams.
Cash flow possible. Yes.
And from there, if you get things going right, eventually you'll start working yourself up and buying bigger deals, right?
Right.
Just like in the game.
Right.
You get more bigger houses, bigger apartments, and you can get commercial ones, right?
Right.
Eventually you get like cell phone towers, and so on. So
okay.
So it's a great way to start.
Right. Right. So basically, that's using leverage in every area. You are using other people's property. You are trying to use other people's money to invest and set up the facility, and you are using other people. I mean, you are using leverage through platforms like Airbnb or other platforms where you can find your customers for you. So you are using their database as your leverage as well. So that's leverage in multiple areas.
Yeah.
Excellent. I think that's a good start for our game, because our game is also based on leverage.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason why we play this game, and that's the whole reason why we meet every week, so we can actually learn how to do leverage better, how we can think how to do better. So I think this meeting is going to end in another couple of minutes. I think 8 more minutes. So what we will do is, right now, before we start the game, we will exit and we will come back and we will start the game fresh.
Perfect.
All right, guys. Okay, Ken, this is your first time over here. So what we normally do is, because this is a free session of Zoom, we every 40 minutes we restart the meeting. So you can rejoin after once we go out. Once we end this meeting, we will start the meeting again, and you can rejoin, and then we will continue like that. Okay. All right. So when we come back, we will start with the game. So by the time you come back, just make sure that you are all logged into your your Cashflow Classic game and ready to move in to our game when we start the room. All right. Here we go. I'm ending this meeting right now. Okay, so shall we move to the game? I'm starting the game right now. Just quickly, if you have all logged into your Cashflow Classic, then quickly jump into the game because we don't want anybody else from outside to join. And I'm not closing this because I'm not closing the game. I'm not putting a password on it because
Can I
if,
ask
yes, Ken.
can I ask the name?
The name of the game will be Cashflow. I will put it in the chat room here. Room will be cash flow. All right. So just look for the room. It will be for 5 players. And I've just created it. Jump in, everybody. I see Ken. I see Ben. Ben went out. Randy is not from us, right? Okay, we'll have, this is exactly what can't happen. Who did not join?
I haven't joined.
Okay, Steve, we'll wait for Randy to move out and
Okay.
we'll have you join. Right, in the meanwhile, I'm going to share that screen here. Let's share screen. Okay, so you can wait for Randy to go out. And as soon as Randy goes out, Steve can join. Let me see if I can post the link for you also over here. Copy. There's a chat window now. And Randy doesn't want to go out. Okay, I just put the link, the game link over there.
Okay, I've got it.
Right. Just hold on until Randy doesn't want to go out.
But what about creating a 6-player game?
No, if we create a 6-player game, then Randy would be very upset because we are not moving. We take so much time. Okay, there,
get
Randy's
you.
gone.
Plus,
Click, click, click. All right. Who's hello? It's not Steve. All right. He is gone as well. Okay. All right. Steve. Oh, all right. Finally.
Okay.
So let's get going. And I'm a business manager this time. Love my dream. Right.
I'm a lawyer.
Lawyer. Okay. All right.
I'll sue you if you start being smart asses, okay?
All right. So let's have a look at the statement before we move. There's a payday of 1,700 and total expenses of only 2,807. Means that's I will probably need to borrow a lot before I can actually get into. I'll have to borrow a lot before I get into my negative cash flow. Let's see. I roll. Okay, do that. That's fine. End and I stop share. Steve, go.
Okay.
By the way, Ken, have you, Steve? I need. We might need you to zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, how's that? Better?
Take it a couple of more.
Much more. Much more.
All right. Okay. At least so much.
Don't be shy.
That's max screen on my side.
All right. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Ken, by the way, have you watched any of the previous videos? Have you updated yourself with what the kind of discussions that we have?
No, I haven't.
Okay, you should go back to some of those videos because normally, I mean, you are new here, but we have been discussing many of those deals previously in the previous videos. So if you look at those videos, you would get to understand because sometimes here we might skip some of the, or we might miss some of the discussions that we had previously on the deals. So just to make your best benefit out of all of this, I suggest you go back to the old videos as well. And if you look at those videos, you will see some context. Because most of the time what happens is when we pick up a deal, we see how related it is to the real world. And to see that connection between the real world and these deals, it is important to go back to those previous videos because sometimes you will get some information which is relevant to your market or which will help you understand how the market dynamics work. So it would be most beneficial for you to go back to some of those videos. All right.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
take it.
Okay. All right.
So I'm
Please.
a police officer.
Right.
So
Right.
not much I can do about that.
Stay a bit on your on your expense on your financial statement. Let's have a look at that. There, you have a total expenses of only 1,980, which is one of the good
Yes.
things if you have a lower salary profile. But it is not a good thing because when you want to go into the when you want to build passive income because you have very little cash flow day income in the game. But that's only a game thing. In real life, you always want to get out of your, I mean, you want to have your income, passive income above your expenses anytime, regardless of how low your expenses are.
Yes.
But like
Okay.
Kiyosaki says, I think we discussed that in the last meeting, last week's meeting. I think yes, that you don't want to stay cheap because if you stay cheap, there's no point in being financially free because you are still cheap.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're up, Ken.
Okay.
Ken, can you share your screen for the game?
Okay. I'm trying to share my screen.
Okay. Ben, you want to help Ken share the screen because you've been working on the mobile screen for quite a long time.
Do you have a button that says share that's green?
All right, I think
Yeah,
you
there you
understand.
go.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Can you see?
Yes, zoom it a little bit.
Yeah, you can zoom in pretty much almost all the way on the phone.
Excellent.
Go much closer, much closer.
Okay, hold on there. Let's have a look at your the lawyer. Okay, all right. So both the mobile guys are lawyers today. All right. So can you zoom in a little more, Ken, so we can read your cash position. All right, see, okay. Here you have a total expense of 5,000 plus. So if you have a total expense of 5,000 plus, that itself is a good starting expense profile. If you want to build passive income, if you build passive income above 5,000, it is a good thing. If you want to move into the fast track, it will not affect you if you have 5,000 plus passive income over here. Shall we run to the deal? Okay, pick a big deal. All right. Now, Steve, since Ken is new here, would you want to explain the deal to Ken?
Sure. Okay. Okay. So this price, yeah, in terms of if you were looking to do a flip, the maximum that you could get would be 3,000 or 320,000. So there's not too much headroom. It's not a bad deal, yeah. So, but this is a well managed property. It has full records in place, but because of that, they're looking for a good return on it. So, in terms of the value for the recipient of this, there is a bit of headway in it that you could flip it. In terms of putting the finance down, so we've got 240,000 value, and let me see.
Ah, that's nice.
So that's a 16% down for the down payment.
Mm-hmm.
The cash flow from that, let's see. There's going to be 2.3% return on investment for the down payment.
Mm-hmm. So it's clearly not a cash flow asset.
No. If you had an abundance of cash and you were just looking to get the return on that cash,
Mm-hmm.
If you had sold a previous property and had a lot of cash available, it may be, yeah, you may want to look at this. But from a starting point of view, it's not really a good place to start.
Mm. All right. So let me summarize what Steve just said. Right.
Okay.
Okay. So what we are looking at here, the cost that Steve mentioned, your 240,000 for an 8-plex unit is that's 30,000 per unit because it's 8 units. So it's 30,000 per unit. I think you missed that factor, that number,
Yes.
Steve. Right. So I'm just reminding you. So next time you would be able to do that. You would be able to include that in your explanation as well. So that's 30,000 per unit. Now, what this is a repetition. You will find it in most of the other videos as well. But the important thing to know here is that we look at market research. We look at market research, and we know that a unit in a plex can sell for as much as 40,000. So the maximum valuation. Now, valuation is different from cost. So these are two different terms that you want to keep in mind. the maximum valuation that you can find on a property of this sort is 40,000 per unit. Now, this is already costing you 30,000 per unit. Now, the minimum valuation that you can find on a property like this is 20,000 per unit, also from our market research. All right. So 40,000 is the maximum, 20,000 is the minimum, and 30,000 is right in the middle. But right in the middle, it should show some more cash flow, because it is only showing, Steve, you mentioned 2 point something?
2.3 return on
2.3%.
investment. Yeah.
Yes. So 2.3%. So if you invest money into it, that is the 40,000 down payment. 40,000 down payment is 16% you mentioned,
Yes,
Steve? Yes.
correct.
Okay. So 40,000 down payment is 16% of the total cost, which is not bad. Which is not bad at all, because the down payment is normally within 20% of the cost. Within 20% of the cost, which is this one, it's they are asking for, within 20% of the valuation, rather. So in this case, they are asking for 16% only, which is below the market peak. And so you wouldn't mind paying that down payment. But look at the cash flow and look at the valuation. Valuation is 30,000, which means it is not, you are not buying in profit. Now, buying in profit is something that we always have to look for, because if, according to Kiyosaki or according to Rich Dad, if you do not make a profit when you buy, then you cannot make a profit when you sell. Which means to say, your buying price should be as close as possible to the cost of the unit, not to the valuation of the unit. It is good if the valuation is low and the cost is somewhere close to the valuation, then you are getting it at cost, which means you are buying at profit. But if the valuation is high and the cost is low, which means if the valuation is something like 30,000 and the cost is only about 20,000, then you want to buy closer to the cost, not closer to the valuation. You want to buy
Can I
closer
ask what is the valuation?
Sorry?
Can I clarify what is valuation?
All right. Okay. Let's go to that. You will find it in one of the previous meeting videos as well, but we will run it through one more time. Valuation is what you place. What is the value that you perceive? It's a perception. You think this could be worth so much for me. Cost is, on the other hand, what it really costs. What is the lowest that you would want to give? What is the lowest that it would take you to construct it, to create it, or to basically what it takes to create it. To create such an asset, what does it take? What is the lowest cost that you would pay compared to what is the valuation? Valuation is always moving. So in a good market, in an up market, in a seller's market, the valuation is always high. It goes up because everybody wants to buy. It's just like the stock. Your stock, if you look at stock, we have something called buying at par. So buying at par, P-A-R, par, is the value of the stock which the company publishes as a par value. This is the basic value of the. So if you are buying above par, you are placing a higher valuation. If you are buying below par, you are placing a lower valuation. So something like that. It's like, okay, think of it like this. If you are in a desert and you are thirsty, you want water. What would you not pay? You would pay everything for a bottle of water. So your valuation at that time for that bottle of water is very high.
So it depends on the demand of the product on the market.
Exactly. So now you get the picture. Valuation
Okay.
depends on the demand and the perception in the buyer's mind. Whereas,
Okay, and
yes,
okay, I understand the valuation now.
all right. So cost is basically what it would take to create the asset in the first place. All right. So the concept of buying in profit, buying in profit is when you are buying closer to the cost and not closer to the valuation. When you are basing your purchase as close as possible to the cost, then you know that you are buying in profit. Because the value of an asset cannot go below the cost. Right? The value of an asset cannot go below the cost. This is not true in real life. In real life, the value of an asset can go below the cost. But that is in different, very, very specific market circumstances. Like when the stock market, when the 2007 real estate market crash happened, many properties were valued below cost. And this is a fact, but this is a very rare occurrence. It doesn't happen all the time. It happens very rarely. But nevertheless, we should be aware that something like that can happen as well. So it is not true to say the valuation can never go below cost. At least in the game, the valuation can never go below cost. In real life, very rare occasions, there can be situations where the value goes below cost, which means people are actually trying to minimize their losses, not trying to make a profit. That would be the strategy at that time when you want to minimize your loss and you're not looking at making a profit, you're not looking at making a margin on it, but you are only looking at reducing, exiting quickly. Now this happens in case of, if you look at businesses, this happens more frequently rather than real estate. Business going below cost or valuation going below cost happens most of the time, many times. It's very frequent. So if you are looking at a business and you are year on year, if you have to pump in money, if you have to keep it alive by putting money into the business, not taking money out of the business, or which means the expenses are higher than the income, then your cost is increasing. However, your valuation is decreasing. So this happens very often in terms of business projects, but less chances of this happening in case of real estate property. But there are instances where you've been holding. This happens if you look at residential property. I've seen this happen. Residential property, not with a building, just the land. It can happen all the time because of different reasons, especially if your neighboring town is developing faster than your own town, then probably the property in your town will drop in value because people are trying to move from your town to the next town. And so there is a there is less demand created. I don't know if this is a universal phenomenon, but I've seen this happen in some of the markets that I've dealt with. I've seen where people, because of the migration of people, it creates less demand for residential property in a particular location, especially if the residential property cannot be rezoned. In the game, you come across this term, zoning. So property is categorized as residential property, industrial property, agricultural property. So you have different kinds of categorizations. And in some places, your agricultural property or your farmland is not allowed to convert to a residential property or a commercial property of sorts. So when you are not allowed to do that, automatically the demand for, when the residential property demand drops, your valuation also drops, and you will not be able to get the same kind of valuation as was before, even in the lowest market before. So inflation or appreciation does not affect your valuation in that case. In fact, the valuation keeps going down. I've seen this happen, and then the property has to be rezoned. And say if there are no, if the residential property can be, or the farmland can be rezoned as residential property, or residential property can be rezoned as industrial property or commercial property, then the demand for it changes, because you are taking it from one market, which is the residential property market or the farmland property market, and you are putting it into an industrial property market or a commercial property market. So then the demand changes according to the new market that it comes into, which means it can change the valuation as well. But this often happens where the valuation, the cost is high and the valuation is low in case of business projects, business ventures, and also sometimes in case of property market where the zoning is not appropriate, or the zoning needs to be revised. Right. So let's come back to, that's a lot of information. Let's come back to anybody wants to add anything to it, to what I've just said.
Yeah. So just to recap, in terms of the potential to sell this for capital gains. So this is at 30,000 per unit.
Right.
So in terms of market research in the game, so we have 25, 30, 35, and 40 per unit.
Yes.
So you would need to have 35 or 40 to be able to sell this for a capital gain.
Correct.
Yeah.
The chances of that happening is not so great. So my personal opinion would be that I wouldn't go for this deal. And but sometimes it does work out when you pick up a deal and you are able to give up the property or sell the property within the next one turn. So that can happen as well. But in real life, I'm not sure how that would work out, unless you are going in for, you have a chance for flipping. I wish Ersin was here. He would explain the 2% rule as he did on the club. Anyway, let's move. I suggest, Ken, that you don't pick up this deal. You can pass it. And
Then I will end.
yes. Who plays next? All right. Who goes next in the game? Samyam. Okay. All right. Samyam, can you share the screen? Airline pilot, one of the best salaries and highest expenses, 6,900, which in itself, if you can just cover up the 6,900 in expenses, passive income would be great enough to go into the first flight. That would be the best recommended situation. Right, let's roll. All right, do that. Right, go on. Okay, nothing much happening there. Who goes next? Okay, that's me. Stop. And I will take over. There you go.
Yeah, I just found out. Right, if you're idle on the phone and you're not on the site, yeah, that's so weird, man.
You were supposed to play, right?
Yeah, I'm back now, but
Okay.
like you have to.
Okay, you will get your first turn only in the next round. All right, no problem. There we go. Okay, as a discipline, I always look at my financial statement before I get started. So that's a practice that I've made, just to make sure that I look at my cash, my total income, my payday, make sure that my cash and my payday are matching, that I have positive. If I have positive payday, I don't care much, but if I have a negative payday, then I definitely make sure that my cash will cover my payday, because I don't want to go bankrupt. We'll come to that later. We'll see when we see a negative cash flow. Roll, there you go. Okay, I have nothing. Software company, it's okay. All right, there we go. Next for
Small deal card.
Steve.
Okay.
Steve.
Okay, I've landed on a payday.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's fine. Okay, Ken, your turn again. Okay, this meeting is going to end in 5 minutes. We will repeat like how we did before. We will just rejoin the same meeting again. Ken, go ahead, share your screen. It's your turn.
Is it shared already?
Yes, it's
Okay.
coming. Okay, payday, so nothing much. Next goes Samya. All right, go for a big deal. Let's see what happened. What you have. All right. Okay, interesting deal. Now, Steve, take a look at
Yes.
this one. This is the same down payment as the previous one that we just discussed.
Yes.
More
Okay,
cash.
so this is 25,000 a unit.
Yes,
So there's a very good chance for a capital gain on this.
right.
Yep. Let's see, we're 40 down out of 2,000, so that's a 20% down payment.
Right. And the cash flow is not so bad. Huh?
Yeah, the return on investment is, that's not right, is it? Let's see, 1.6. Is 4% return on investment. So yeah, this is a good deal.
This is a dream deal.
Yes.
All right. So Samya, have you figured out what Steve said? And
No, not really.
all right. So Ken and Samya. Okay, now we have only 3 more minutes left. I'm going to try as fast as possible to explain this, but if not, we hold the screen right there, and then we come back and we'll continue the discussion. Okay, the first thing you need to pay attention to is look at the description of the deal. Owner's legal trouble leads to forced sale of this 8-plex. Now, one thing that we always keep in mind is that one person's pain is another person's gain. Now, business does not happen otherwise. One person's pain is another person's gain. So if the owner of this building has legal trouble and he is forced to sell, then you can gain from his pain. And this is invariably everywhere in business, everywhere when you have to make a transaction, this is the best kind of deal that you can make. Because when somebody is in trouble, if you help them, it's the same case as the bottle of water. The bottle of water, if you are in a swimming pool, the bottle of water has got very little value to you. But if you are in the desert, the bottle of water has got a high valuation, a high value for you. Now, this case, now the owner is in the desert already. And he wants to get rid of this building. He wants to collect some cash and he wants to take care of his legal troubles. He doesn't want to worry about what losses he is incurring or what loss in valuation he is incurring or he is facing on this transaction. So he is willing to give away one unit at $25,000 cost. 8 units, that's 200,000 in cost. All right, but it is a nice property. Look at it; it's returning 4% on your down payment. If you pay 40,000 of your cash, you will get a 4% return, because that is 1,600 divided by 40,000 into 100. Now, if you have your calculator, pen, paper with you, this is a calculation that you can do, and this is a calculation that you have to do. This is a calculation that you have to learn, that your down payment is 40,000 divided by 200,000, the whole multiplied by 100. So that will give you 20%. Your down payment is 20%. Your cash flow is 1,600 divided by 40,000. Okay, everybody in?
Yes.
All right. So your cash flow percentage, you always look at your cash flow based on the money that you're putting in as down payment. Why? Because that's your money, or that's expected to be your money. In the game, sometimes we take a loan to pay that money as well. Yes, but that is the only money that you're paying in. And the cash flow is based on the payment for the mortgage as well. Now, your down payment, you taking a loan for the down payment is not mortgage. It's just coming to your cash. Can we see your financial statement, Samya? Right. Now, if you take a loan here, that loan will come not into your mortgage. That loan will come directly into your cash, right? That loan is just a cash loan that you are taking from the bank or your financier or your money lender or whoever it may be. But the there you go. Now, when you make the down payment, you are putting in cash, and you want to know what kind of return you are getting on that cash, which is fixed already, which is 1600. Now, 1600 divided by the cash that you paid will determine how much returns you are making for your money. So 1600 divided by 40,000, the whole into 100 will give you 4%. Right, Steve?
Yes.
Yes, 4%. So that 4% is your return on investment, or ROI, return on investment, in terms of the cash that you have used to make this deal. Now, if you sell this property later on, sometime later, you get a market card and you are able to sell this property. You're making a cash flow of 1600 on this one every payday. But if you are able to sell this property off at, say, 40,000 a unit, so that would make it 40,000 times 8, which is 360,000 total. So you will make a profit of 160,000 based on the cost that you paid, plus a 40,000, which is your down payment that you paid. So that means you will get a cash deal of 200,000 in total when you are able to sell this for 40,000. Now, if you sell it for 35,000 a unit, that's a different thing. But the money that you make like that, the money that you make, the 160,000 that you make by selling this property at 40,000 per unit, or 360,000 for the whole unit, for the whole deal, that is called capital gains. Now, you have the opportunity of making capital gains. You have a reasonably good cash flow, you have a reasonably good return on investment on this property, and your valuation is closer to your cost of 20,000. Your valuation of 25,000 per unit is closer to your cost of 20,000 per unit. Now, how do we know 20,000 and 40,000? This is because of our market research. Now, market research in the game, the only market research that we have is the property deals that we get and the property market cards that we get. You get an offer for all kinds of Plex units, 40,000 per unit. You get you get your deals from your big deals. Sometimes it says 160,000 for 8 Plex for sale. So that means 20,000 per unit. So 160,000 for cost for an 8 Plex, that means 20,000 per unit. That is the lowest that you can find in the game. But in real life, we have to look at the trends. Now, if you saw that video which originally Shivam posted, and then I have recently reposted it in the club, that video talks about trends and cycles, and how the ups and downs, and how the how the market movement, like the up market and the down market, how it happens, and what kind of a graph we can expect as the market moves up and down in the short term, in the mid-term, and in the long term. So when you look at those kind of things, you will know what is the trend, what is the kind of market that you are facing in your own market. This is from real life. So if you go to an area and you look at the property deal, sometimes you will find this information as public, legally available information. but sometimes you will not find. If you go to India, the legal information that you will be able to find will be completely different from the actual market information that you will find on the ground, because a lot of people do transactions without revealing the real valuation that they are placing on the property transaction. So you will not find that very often. But you have to make it, you have to find a way to discover what was the lowest valuation of property, a particular kind of property, because you can only compare apples to apples. So what was the lowest kind of valuation on a property in a particular zone, in a particular area? What was the highest valuation of that property in a different time period? So if you compare these, you will get the trend, you will get an understanding of where the prices are moving, whether it is moving up, whether it is already moved up and it is ready to move down, or whether it is already moving down. So there are three possibilities. One is it is climbing up, or the other is it is going down, or the third is it is peaked out. You are at the peak right now. Most people buy at the peak. Most people buy at the peak because they see the valuation climbing and climbing and climbing, and so they invest because they just want to make capital gains. This is about the uneducated. This is about the people who are unaware of the trends. They are unaware because they do not think in those terms. Now, as the point of financial education is that we find out what triggers, what helps the market work, and what helps us to make money in which kind of market. Now, you can, if Robert Kiyosaki, he always says this: you can make market when the market is going up, and you can make money when the market is going up, and you can make money when the market is going down. Both of this is possible. All you need is financial education. All right. So this looks like a good deal. Now let's look at his financial statement. His financial statement says you need a down payment of 40,000. You have nothing, no money, no cash. Right. So Samyam has no cash, so he has to borrow 40,000, and he has to borrow 40,000 at an interest rate of 10%. Now 10% interest rate, so that means he will add 4,000 to his total expenses. He will add 4,000 to his total expenses, which will make his total expenses 11,100. Now 11,100, and his payday is going to reduce by 4,000, which means he is going to go into minus 1,600 in his payday, just because of his minus 4,000 in additional expenses. Right, Samya? You get this so much?
Yeah.
All right, good. So, but the property has a cash flow of 1,600. So your payday has gone to minus 1,600. Your property has a cash flow of 1,600, which means your payday is going to be 0. Are you afraid of it now?
Yeah.
You are afraid of it. All right, good boy. Okay. Now the whole point of financial education is to not be afraid of a zero payday or a negative payday. Now, this is how we learn to leverage, because if you borrow 40,000, you will go into a negative payday of minus 1,600 or 1,600. You have a cash flow of 1,600 from the property. So effectively, you are staying alive. Zero payday means you have no balance, you have no savings. Right, Samyam?
Yeah.
You have no savings. All right. Now, if you have no savings, is that a problem?
No.
No. If you have no savings, it is not a problem because your expenses are taken care of. Correct? You are able to spend money for your daily expenses, your food, your clothes, your rent, your other liabilities, your credit card, your car loan payment, your home mortgage, everything is covered.
Yeah, right.
You just have no savings. Right? Let's go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, buy, and then we will see how when you have no savings and when you have a negative payday, we will manage. How we will manage, we will figure out. Just go ahead. See, minus 1,600 in your okay. Can you pick up your financial statement? Zero payday, right? Your passive income, on the other hand, has gone up to 1,600. So you have made the first step, positive step to financial freedom, which is you have created something with passive income. You've just had to minimize your savings to zero. That's all. Right? Okay. Let's go to Ben now. All right. So Ben is a lawyer. He likes the ship. All right. Can you take us to your financial statement? All right. Okay. That's good. 2,470 in payday. Let's roll. I mean, let's take the deal. All right, limited partner wanted. Limited partner. Ben, you want to explain the maths here?
Let's see here. I'll try as best as I can.
Sure.
Let's see.
The whole point of us just a minute. The whole point of us trying to explain the deal is also about sales. You know, in a sale, when you have to sell, and selling is the skill to sell is the most important thing when it comes to financial freedom. You know, you have to be able to sell, and Kiyosaki repeatedly says this. So the whole point of us talking over here, discussing things, is to be able to communicate an idea. So as we do this more often, we become better to communicate the idea. It could be wrong, it's okay, or it could be incomplete. That's still okay. The point is that we are getting a chance to speak about a specific subject and talk to the other person, ensuring that the other person understands. And this is the most important part of sales, to communicate an idea, a concept in a way that the other person understands.
Right.
Let's go ahead.
Okay, so this is a limited partnership that is wanted, and the cost is 30,000. The cash flow will be 1,500.
Right.
Down pay is the same. So this is a non-franchise sandwich shop that's doubling the number of locations, and the owner needs additional equity
Why?
to get the operating loan. So as my payday is 2/4
Right.
and my cash is 2/8, and that means that how do you explain it? My payday won't be at a negative in a negative place.
What loan would you need?
The loan will be 3K loan.
No,
That's a 10%, isn't it?
no, it's not 3K. You already have cash.
Yeah.
You have cash of 2,870. So the 870 doesn't count. You have cash of 2,000.
Yeah.
All right. So your loan would be for?
So that means, hold on, I'm trying to think hard here. So loan isn't it 3K minus 280? So
No, you will
how
not.
would you explain it?
Your loan, your cash can only be used in multiples of 1,000. So if you have last deal, Samyam had 900 cash, but that did not count because you need to cross the 1,000 mark. Okay, so you have 1,000, 2,000, then 3,000. So you don't have 3,000. So you can only use 2,000.
Yeah.
So your
2,000. So the 240 doesn't count, and the 870, right?
yes. So you get 2,000 in cash, and your down payment is 30,000. So which means you have 2,000 in cash, and you need to cover the rest with a loan. All right. So the rest means 30,000 minus 2,000, which is 28,000. So your loan would be for 28,000 at 10%. That
Okay,
would
so
be 2,000.
just 2.8.
Right. So 2,800 in loan payment, loan repayment.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead. What else? No. What else? What else?
Come again?
How is it going to affect your? Okay, now you
The
want
cash flow will affect the rest, I guess, right?
Yes. Now it's easier to see because you've already taken the loan. Your payday has gone to minus 330, and you have a cash flow of 1,500. Right. So your final payday is going to be 1,500 minus 330, which is 1,170.
270, yeah.
And your passive income will go. Okay, let's go back to your financial system. Okay, your passive income has gone up by 1,500. Your payday has gone to 1,170. Right. But the point of limited partnerships, the limited partnerships in the game, the limited partnerships sell twice as much or thrice as much. So when you are able to sell this limited partnership, when you get a market card, you will probably get, in place of your 30,000, you will get 60,000, or you can get 90,000. Depends on the market card. However, in real life, what would you get? What would you learn from this? So if you remember the deal description, it said non-franchise sandwich shop wants to expand into more locations, and they are taking this money as against equity They are giving you equity, and they are taking this money in for equipment and other setting up the other locations.
Mhm.
Right. So if we have to start something in real life. Now, in the beginning of this meeting, we discussed about short-term rentals.
Mhm.
You are doing the same thing in your business. You are expanding locations, and you are using money from other people to set up the interiors, to set up the facilities, right?
Right.
So the same way, if you start up an organization, if you start up a business venture, like a sandwich shop, for example, it is possible for us to find people who will invest against equity when you want to move on and expand your business, right? So this is about real life situations where you could be the sandwich shop owner who is looking for cash. And just like you picked up the limited partnership deal, there could be somebody in the real in real life who would want to invest their money and get a return. Now, if you notice, 1,500 for cash flow for 30,000 investment, that is 5%, right?
Yes.
Isn't it 5%? 1,500 divided by 30,000 is exactly 5%. Now, if somebody is looking for a 5% return on investment for their cash, for their money, and if it is a proven market, if it is a proven business, if your business is doing well and you are making money, and you can win the confidence of your investor, if you can win the confidence of the person who is putting in the money against the equity, then if they are looking for a 5% return, you can offer this 5% return and collect money to run your ventures, to expand your ventures. And this is something that happens in real life, and it is not something that the game just keeps. It is very much true in real life. And this is very similar to what Ben is doing. I don't know what Ben is promising his investors.
I haven't come to that part yet, so I'm still on my way. Yeah.
Okay. So when you take money from someone, sometimes it's very sometimes it's possible to get loans from your very close people. The loans that you get from your close people are could be interest free, or you may not owe them anything in return. But most of the times, somebody who is trying to offer you money is looking for something in return, and you will have to figure out. And one of those things is how much return on investment are they expecting? Just like how we are expecting 5% returns over here, how much return on investment are they expecting, and how much return on investment can you afford to offer them? This is the balancing question, and this is where we have to. This is where it connects to real life. When you are looking for investment from people for running the same kind of business that, or for expanding the business that you are running for. And this also connects to what we just discussed with Samyam, because Samyam is right now on zero payday. Now the next deal he makes, he will go into a negative payday. And why do we keep borrowing unlimited in the game? Okay, in real life, it is a little more difficult to borrow, but if we are using the same principles of unlimited borrowing, if we have good financial planning, if it is possible for us to predict which stage of our business, which stage of our expansion we will need what amount of money, then it is definitely possible to make sure that you are giving yourself enough time to find that next investor who will take your equity and offer you money, or who will offer you finance uh, against the returns that you are promising. Now, if you notice, many ventures, they go for they go for raising capital. If you have noticed, some of the ventures, they go, I mean, different kinds of people go for crowdfunding, or they go for raising capital in different ways. And if you want to raise capital, there are different ways to do that against equity. And one of the recent, I think in the last maybe 5 or 7 years, crowdfunding has got so much of has gathered so much of pace. But crowdfunding is one of those areas where you are if you want to raise capital, you already have a running business and you want to raise capital, you pitch your business and the equity that you want to give away, you pitch it to the crowd funding platform. They do some cost assessment on this one, and then they pitch it to people who have cash and want to invest in small amounts. So a huge number of participants contributing small amounts of money and bringing in capital for your kind of business. This is again another example of why we are able to another reason why we are able to borrow unlimited in the game, because whenever you want to raise equity, whenever you want to raise capital, it is always possible to use different ways to raise capital. And of course, the most easy, the simplest of them is to borrow money from friends and relatives, like Ben is planning to do. Right, Ben?
Yeah.
Right. So that is one of the simplest ways. The more complicated way is to go in to find investors, like how you do in Dragon's Den or Shark Tank. Or it is also possible to go with crowdfunding platforms. There are other ways as well. You could go to a money lender, you could pledge one of the assets and generate the cash that you want to do. So there are different ways of generating cash, but it is possible to continuously borrow against your financial requirements if you are making the right investments and are able to convince your investors, or able to convince your lenders that the value or the proposition of your of the direction that you are going in, or how you are making steps, and how you are making steps in the right direction, that the potential to return the money is higher. The confidence to return the money is higher.
Also, to add a little bit here, when it comes to finding investors, like I mentioned before, is the course that I'm taking, the cash flow diary owner, Jay Massey. The way he gets investors is playing cash flow in cafes.
Yes.
So his favorite place is Starbucks. So he plays in front of other people, right? Just to get their attention, and that's really smart, because if there is a person who listens to the way he teaches and what he's talking about, they'll probably have an open ear and start listening more and get interested in whatever is going on. And eventually he'll, if they're curious enough, they'll ask the question and he'll start explaining, right?
Right.
So that's one way you could also find investors is playing the cash flow game in front of other people.
That's one way of collecting. That's another way of crowdfunding, if you really look at it, because you are going down to strangers, people who don't know you, or people who don't don't already have confidence in you. Now, your friends and relatives and people like that, or your bank is a little different because they have a different kind of confidence. They look at your credit worthiness and then they decide whether they have confidence in you or not. But when it comes to your friends and relatives, they believe in you, and so they let you have their cash. Whereas if you this is a very similar strategy that even network marketing people use. You would find them in coffee shops, you would see them discussing, or you would see them making their case with other people in coffee shops. So, just to get public attention, just to get people intrigued in what they're doing. So all these are different ways of that. That's actually not just a way to collect investment. It is more like a way to it's more like networking. It's more like expanding your circle of friends, and it's more like expanding your circle of people who trust you.
Right.
So once they in this case, in Jay Massey's case, he's probably giving out some. Now this is quite similar to what we do on the cash flow game as well. We talk to strangers, we drop information, we share our learnings while we are playing the game. We discuss. I mean, sometimes Ben and me, we have done this quite well in many of the games. We start talking to each other about the deals. We start talking to each other about financial principles that we commonly discuss on the club, and suddenly the other players are interested. So once they are interested, then we say, okay, why don't you join us? Let us let's meet up on the club, and we can share more information over there. We can discuss better ideas over there. We can discuss in detail over there. Now, the reason why we do this is because we want the club to expand. And the club expanding has very little monetary value if you look at it, because there's only expense when the club expands. But when the club expands, there is also the benefit that we get to discuss more ideas, we get more opportunity to discuss and figure out more things, to correct some of the wrong concepts that we might have had, or to update some of these. So we are actually building a community, which is the same way Jay Massey is doing it in a coffee shop, or which is the same way a network marketing person would be doing in a coffee shop, or would be doing with strangers. We are actually creating an environment which would allow us to expose what we do, or which would allow us to take to market. It is a route to market what we plan to do, or what we want to do, what we want to achieve. So, of course, we can use different ways to do that. There are different methods to do that. This is one of those very good approaches to do that. I think we are running out of time, and this is our third meeting, if I'm not mistaken. Is this our third meeting or second meeting?
Yes.
What's the time?
Third.
This is our third meeting. So I think we have to come to an end end of this week's session. So 3 more minutes. Let me see if I can do one roll. Share and roll. All right. Big deal.
Did you just end my screen?
Yes, I did.
I'm like, whoa, okay.
No,
I didn't touch anything.
because I'm the host, I could probably do that. Okay. All right.
Okay, hurry up.
80,000, which is good. Owner being forced out by income tax liens, which means owner is having, for the benefit of Ken, because Samyam is not here anymore. So for the benefit of Ken, it says, okay, this is one of those cards which gives us the lowest value or the lowest cost on our Plex deals. So if you look at it, cost is 80,000 for a 4-plex. A 4-plex, 80,000, that means one unit goes at 20,000, right? So one unit at 20,000 is the lowest cost you can find on a Plex unit in the game. Now, this is what we call market research, because we know it cannot go below this. We calculate against every deal, we find out what is the lowest cost, and now we figure out that 20,000 per unit is the lowest. Now, how do we find that 40,000 is the highest? We look at the market cards instead. This one, we look at the deal cards to find what is the lowest. And for the highest valuation, we look at the deal cards, the market cards. We look at the market cards and we say, okay, at the market card, it sells at maximum 40,000. So that is the higher limit when it comes to that about our market research, and 20,000 is our lowest limit when it comes to our research. And this is how we figure out. Now, if you look at this one, this is a very interesting deal. Down payment is 20,000 and cost is 80,000, which means they are asking for 25% of the valuation. And this can happen because of certain things. I think we will not have time to discuss that, but if the owner, for example, needs a 20,000 cash immediately to handle some of his income tax problems, that would mean he is not willing to go for any less than 20,000. This can happen several times in real life as well, which is why I want to mention this before the meeting ends. Cash flow is not that great. There's only 400 for 20,000. You can calculate it. It will not come for more than
2%.
Yeah, 2%, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so 2% is not that great when it comes to a smart, but it is a great capital gains asset because you are buying at cost.